طيب, are you ready to go on to the next and for a slide? Okay, so this is where I write the modern way of writing it. I kept the ayn, just so we know it's وَالْأَرْضِ ذَاتِ الصَّدْعِ. So وَالْأَرْضِ ذَاتِ الصَّدْعِ. And then the ayn was split across pages. The whole word was split, not just across lines in the same page. The word as-sad' was split into two across pages, which was acceptable again. Back then it was acceptable. Okay, that's basically the end of the time of Ali radiallahu anhu. After that, I'm not going to go through like the exact khilafah of Umayyah and the other khilafah. It's now more a faster paced timeline. We're going to go a bit faster and make giant leaps, because for a long time nothing changed. So after Abu al-Aswad al-Du'ali, for quite a few decades, not much changed. So you would have those red dots to help in Fath, Dhamma, Kasra, and everything was good. So adding those vowel symbols helped solve a lot of the misreading of accented letters, but there was still something. There was a problem. As alhamdulillah, you were able to look at the manuscript and recognize the surah. It's not always that easy, especially when you have a lot of tas and bas and yas and noons going on, and how to distinguish ya'lamun versus ta'lamun. Wallahu bima ya'maluna basir, wallahu bima ta'maluna basir, which occurs a lot. Those are ahruf. Those are places where it can be recited in two ways. And without dots for the ta or the ya, there's a problem. People can get confused. So that's a new basically endeavor, a new less dangerous problem than tashkil, but it still can change words, as we saw fatathabbatu, fatabayyanu. Those are correct, ahruf or differences. But what about if a word is read wrongly with a difference that's not from the Prophet ﷺ? That's a problem. So letters needed to be dotted to distinguish a ha from a kha from a jim, to distinguish a ba from a ta, from a tha, from a ya, from a noon. You can imagine all those letters that look the same, especially if they're in the middle of the word. A ghain from a ayn. What else? A fa from a qaf, especially in the middle of a word. What else do we have similar? Zai and ra, dal and zal, dha and ta, sad and dad. So many letters, and just a dot currently makes a difference for us. Back then there were no dots. So a system needed to be invented or brought back. The timeline I'm using with you is the timeline chosen by Dr. Ayman Suwaid. He believes that there was no dotting existent at the time of the revelation, nor at the time of Abu Bakr, nor at the time of Othman. So Dr. Ayman Suwaid is going with the scholarly opinion, which is a strong opinion, that the dotting of the letters, not for tashkil, but to distinguish ba from ta and tha, that was actually invented by Nasr bin Asim or someone around that time. So I want to put it out there. There is another scholarly opinion with evidence also. Both have evidence. The other scholarly opinion says, no, there was some dotting to a limited degree used at the time of revelation of Qur'an, but was not used in the Qur'an intentionally, so that the written Qur'an can be pronounced with those differences revealed by al-Wahy. So it was an intentional step by the Sahaba who were scribing the Qur'an and who made the copies to maintain the no dots, although it might be needed. They maintained the no dots so that it could be pronounced both ways, so that it can be fatathabbatu and fatabayyanu. Because if they did use dots, they would have to write the word twice. And removing the dots saves space, saves energy, and saves from having to write the word twice. So these are two different scholarly opinions about those timelines. And it kind of goes back and forth because it's based on finding evidence outside of the Quran that's at the time of the Prophet ﷺ or the khilafah of Abu Bakr or Umar or Uthman. So that's the timeline the scholars are looking at. And sometimes evidence shows up. If there's time at the end of the course, I want to introduce something that Dr. Adil Abu Sha'ar, one of the scholars of this science, wrote on his Facebook and shared with us a very detailed report on a parchment that was found just about a few years ago and how that affects the understanding. Inshallah, please remind me of all of these little details I keep on promising to talk about, inshallah, if there's time. Okay, so Nasr bin Asim, who we've mentioned previously, who helped Abu al-Aswad al-Du'ali put those red dots, so this one opinion is that he actually then sat down and invented the dotting system for letters to distinguish ba from ta and tha, and etc. So he added these dots that we know today, and we use them today. And he used the black color because now he's adding another thing, and if it was red dots, it would be confused with the red dots of Abu al-Aswad. But he actually didn't add big blob dots. It was very thin lines, very faint and fine, thin lines. So it wasn't really dots as we know them today. Inshallah, maybe we can look at some manuscripts once it comes up on these slides. So now the letters are dotted. You have tashkil, and mashallah, there's really not much to be confused. It's just the timeline now. There's probably about 100 years leap from now to the next advancements or change in the scripture of the Quran, but it remains mainly the same. Those red dots and small slivers indicating the letter dots on the different letters. Okay, so here's an example that clearly contains, I don't know if I can bring it up or the next example will have a clearer view, that it has, you can see those red dots. And if we zoom in here or see another one, here, I think we're zooming in, you see those fine little dots used by Nasr bin Asim to distinguish letters. And something that pops out at me as soon as I look at this, I look at how cute the noon has become. Right here in the middle on the fourth line, I see women. I knew to make the meme with a fatha because it had a dot on top of it. And the noon is now not that, kind of rough shaped. It's a circle. It looks like a banana. So it's a half noon compared to us, but it's so cute and adorable. I love round things. And this is so round. And you have that little dot on top of the noon that was added by Nasr bin Asim. And this is highly readable. So you see this little dot here or design here, that's the head of the ayah. And you have woman, and then you have the alif, then you have the dha, you have the little dot, woman azlam. There's no tashkil on the meme, but we know it's woman azlamu. Then you have mimman, another very cute noon, a fatha on the meme. Woman azlamu, there's a missing word here, it's woman azlamu, mimman dhukkira. And then the next line is bi'ayati. Okay, let's look at bi'ayati. Bi'ayati, we see a little dot by Nasr bin Asim under the ba with no need for a red dot, because the ba in the Arabic language, when it's a letter of harfu jar, it only comes with a kasra. When it's a letter not part of the word, the ba, unless it's for swearing, the ba for meaning like kind of with, comes only with a kasra. So I guess there was no need to add a kasra under the ba. And notice the bi'a, there's a dot after the alif. This dot before and after the alif, it seems to me from just looking at it, sometimes, see here, azlamu, the dot was before the alif, but wama anzala, this dot is after the alif. So it seems like after or before the alif, sometimes the scribes go back and forth. It doesn't seem to be stable yet. Where do you put the dot that indicates the a? You put it before the line or after it? It seems to be jumping. Okay, so here's بِآيَاتِ. 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 Look, huh? Are you seeing how this is written? Notice the first letter has 2 dots under it. And then there's a second letter with 2 dots under it. That means there are 2 yas. And then there's the T, the 2 dots, and the T is really, the T sound is really extended, but you have the 2 dots on top of it. If we did not know that this was بِآيَاتِ, how would you read it, Brother Wadia? Let me try to open your mic. How would you read this word?
I mean, there's no harakat, so I'm guessing it's sakin. بِآيَاتِ or something.
Or you might read it بِآيَاتِ or بِآيَاتِ, like you said. Okay, so this is typical of the time where you have the alif khanjariya, but instead of writing that alif, they would put dots under it. بِآيَاتِ. Until today, there are some masahif in Morocco that for the alif khanjariya, that where like there's that missing alif, if there's a letter symbol, like here we have the nabra for the first ya and another nabra that's for the alif, like ya, they would put a line for the alif plus the dots under the ya for the ya. So it would have yas, the dots for the ya, and they would add a small alif on top of it to indicate that this isn't a ya, it's an alif. If you find it confusing, yes, there's still room for improvement. But for the reciters at the time, there's no problem. بِآيَاتِ. The first one is a ya, the second one is an alif. It just has the ya symbol. And it wasn't confusing. Go ahead, Brother Wadia. You have questions? Question.
نعم. What happened to the rule of, keeping the ضبط in a different color other than
right?
black?
So when Nasr bin Asim added these little lines for dots, yeah, he basically avoided the red so that the red will be kept for the Fath Dhamma Kasra. But he was ordered by the Khalifa to find a system to dot. So he went back to using black, but notice how the lines are fine. It's not the thick, see these thick Othmani letters? It's the fine dots. So it was considered acceptable, but it took a time. Like a lot of scholars had a major uproar. They did not like these black dots. A lot of them refused for a very long time to add them to any of their masahif. Yeah.
Okay. And we don't follow the system of Abu Aswad al-Du'ali for the harakat, putting them in red dots.
Because later, in the mid-2nd century, Al-Farahidi comes along and finds a better, easier system than changing ink, because having 2 inks is also expensive and hard to keep track of. So Abu al-Aswad comes up with a system where he uses black and it's easier to use than dots. Now, there's nothing wrong with you using the red dots today. No, Brother Wadia, you're going to write your own mushaf and use red dots.
I was going to say naam.
There's nothing wrong with that. You're following the ai of the time. No. As long as you have something to follow, like make sure that if you write a page, you're actually copying from a manuscript, not from your head. So writing the Quran from your head, that's no. That's what Zayd radiallahu anhu refused to do at the time of Abu Bakr, and he's Zayd. He's Zayd radiallahu anhu, and he would not write a single word from his memory. So if you're going to write the Quran, make sure you're copying from something, from an authentic copy.
Let's make a project to study this khat, this handwriting, and rewrite the entire thing.
It's so beautiful. Naam.
طيب.
Okay, and subhanAllah, it's now highly readable. We have بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِ, you have those kasras, فَأَعْرَضَ عَنْهَا وَنَسِيَ. This is now in Surah Al-Kahf, I believe. وَنَسِيَ مَا قَدَّمَتْ يَدَاهِ. And then this ha is the ha of yadah. So it's again split across lines. إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا على قلوبهم, and the ayah then continues. I have the, I believe, I brought up the full ayah. So here, the red is basically where it's cut off. It's not the manuscript that's cut off, it's the picture. I can't remember, was it my picture and I don't know, I didn't focus the camera, or the rest of the page was too dark. I'm not sure why I had to clip it this way, or it's possible that I wanted to find a manuscript that clearly had the red dots for tashkil and the small little lines for a nuqat, and it's just off the internet. Probably is the second choice. So anyway, so I have it represented in black here, what we can see, and the red is what's like offline and before the ayah. So yes, it is from Surah Al-Kahf.